Awesome, guys. Well, hi again. Welcome to session 2 of 5 of our workshop series. Part 3 is going to start next week. I'm hoping that everybody on this workshop watched part 1. It's going to be really important that you either joined in live with part 1 or watched the replay in order to get the most out of today's training. So, assuming that you guys have done that, we're so ready to move on to part 2. Part 2 will be live within the next few hours, everybody, on this link right here. Let me just copy and paste it. And I'll do it a few times if you guys lose it in the chat. But it will be live today. As long as we don't have any tech issues, it will be live. Just hit watch replays and it will bring you right to it. So if you haven't watched part 1 or did any of your like pre-homework, feel free to stay, but you may not be able to follow along and do the work yourself as Brandon is going through today. So just be wary of that. It was important to have completed that ICP. So again, I always give Brandon an intro, but assuming you watched part 1, we're just going to pass it right to Brandon. So thanks everybody for joining. I hope you enjoy.
Hey, thanks, Nikki. Super excited to get into today. Last week we talked a lot about building the foundation, and we'll give a quick review of that. Today we're going to actually move into content generation using that foundation we've had, and you're going to see how cool it is that the type of content we can generate with the right kind of prompts to craft. Today we're specifically talking about our website, which is obviously a key part of everything we do from a marketing standpoint. We had a couple of questions last week. I wanted to just provide a little bit more background. Nikki had mentioned this, but just so you kind of understand why I'm sharing what I'm sharing and where it's come from. So I got involved in the tourism industry, actually grew up in the tourism industry as a child, and was a guide for a little while, went off and did some other things in sales and marketing, and then came back into the industry. And this was actually a family-owned business. And so when I came back into the picture, we actually started a brand new business called Moab Adventure Center down in Moab. This is back in 2003. And put together a brand new website for that business, continued our business that had been around since 1961, Western River Expeditions, and found that due to some struggles we were having with those businesses back in that time frame, we really needed to do some things differently. And part of that was crafting a solution that would help us be successful. And so we built a booking platform, and not just a booking platform, but a marketing automation platform called ResMark, Reservations and Marketing. That's where the name comes from. And so we put that together, and it has changed the way we do business, helped us grow from 3,000 guests a year to 40,000 in just a few years. We then put together another platform called WaiverSign. WaiverSign allowed us to triple our email database in 1 year, and has since just been an awesome tool in our marketing. And then years down the road, enjoying the success that both of these things had helped us achieve, we decided we really wanted to give back to the community and take everything that we've learned in our own businesses and share it. And that's essentially what we're doing here today. We built another platform called ResMark Web. This does, website design, SEO, paid ads management, all the things that we've learned in our business as a tour operator to be successful. So different from a lot of other things you find out there, in that it's kind of this, from the inside service, that we're taking everything we're learning, which is exactly, again, what we're doing today, is sharing some of those things with you so you can be more successful. That's our mission, to help other businesses like ours find greater success than ever. So with that, we're going to jump into today's workshop. So again, this is part 2, AI-powered website copywriting for higher conversions. Last week, we covered unlocking your ideal customer goldmine. Quick review of that. We talked a little bit about Jeff Bezos and his concept of building a strategy around what is not going to change, because if things are changing so fast. And what is not going to change? The right message to the right person at the right time. Last week, we focused a lot on the right person. We talked about, we went through uploading our customer reviews. We uploaded some business information and product information. We uploaded files from Google Analytics. And we uploaded some other documents, and we took those and we actually had AI, ChatGPT specifically, go in and analyze those files and return to us summaries of what was in the hearts and minds of our customer, of our ideal customer, and pretty cool stuff that it's able to pull back and extract, stuff that would have taken weeks to go through, in our case 500 reviews and a lot of other data to pull this back. So that's what we talked about last time. Today we're going to use that and we're going to get to the right message. So here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to review our project files. I'll show you that just so you can double check your project in ChatGPT. Again, we're using ChatGPT. You could be using other solutions if you're very familiar with AI. Other solutions like Claude have projects in them. But using ChatGPT just because it's kind of the most well-known, familiar, a lot of people have it. Again, you will find in the Plus account right now, this could change any day, but in the Plus account and the Pro account, you will find projects. That's what we're using. Inside that project, we have files. So we'll go over those. Then we're going to set the stage. We're going to reinforce the instructions we've given it in the project, provide some general goals for what we're about to do. And then I'm going to show you a series of prompts that follow a proven formula to generate key copy for our homepage. Now, this is something I'm hoping you get a takeaway from today, that you're like, everybody has a website here, I'm assuming, unless you're brand new and just starting out a brand new company, in which case you'll love this just as well. But all of you that have a page, you can come in and kind of compare what we're creating and go back in and actually utilize it to update your homepage to have it be even more effective than it is today. So then we're going to talk about how to apply this to other cases. I think we're just going to have time to talk about the homepage, but we're going to talk about tour and activity category pages if time allows. And then we'll talk about next steps to implement that updated copy. Okay. All right. With that, we are going to jump in. So let's quickly review what should be in your project. Again, I am at chatgpt.com here. I have created a project. Inside my project, we should have certain files. Last time we did this, we started out with our background and products file. That was information about your business and a summary of each one of your products with pricing, a little bit of detail, just so it understands what you're all about and what you're offering. We then had 3 different reviews files. They don't have to be from Google, TripAdvisor, and Yelp, but you should have some reviews from either internal or third-party sources that provide real reviews. We talked about those reviews being all reviews, not just your best reviews, not just only your good reviews, but good, bad, the ugly, everything should be in there and encompassed in that. We did that as text files because we've found that ChatGPT can read a text file or a TXT file much better than it can read a lengthy PDF or other document formats. So you should have those. You should have your ideal customer profile summary in there. That was generated in the last session. We copied it out of ChatGPT and we pasted it into either a Google Doc or a Word doc or some kind of document. And then we uploaded it back in. We again exported it as text before we did that because it's a lengthy document with all of those results you got out of ChatGPT. So that should be in there. We created another document for messaging, tone, and style using the same process. We uploaded that. This one is one that I did separately just because one of our goals is to book multiple activities. So this was in the document we went through last week, but it may not be there for you because it may not be your specific goal with this, but I've plugged it into mine because it's specific to Moab Adventure Center and what we do. Lastly, you should have the elements of value summary. And that was an exercise we went through last time using the pyramid, the hierarchy of needs, but these are more of the emotional, social, functional, transcendent needs that we have and why we make purchases. We did a big evaluation with that, found a ton of content, copied that into a file, put it in TXT file, and uploaded it. Now, you'll notice that you might have a few extra files if you were here last time, which are your Google Analytics files. I found that I was getting a warning inside of my project that said it may not be able to read through this many files. Now, that could be because my files were more lengthy than yours. I don't know. If you're not seeing that warning, feel free to leave your Google Analytics files intact. If you are seeing that warning, mine was up here, you can click the X and get rid of your Google Analytics files. We won't be using them as much going forward, but if you're not getting the warning, feel free to leave them there because they're not a bad thing to have. It will reference them as we go. Okay. I'm going to pause for just a second, let everybody take that in, and we're going to jump back into this and start generating content. So you should have all of that for your project files again. And then we did put in instructions last week. We copied those out of our document. You may have something slightly different. I was just showing you an example here of using a very specific persona who's a legendary copywriter, and we're using his style and so forth. And so you can, utilize that here. We'll talk about this a little bit today, right as we jump into this. Okay. And then you probably have some chats going from the last time that we did this. All of these, we were playing around with a couple other things in here that I have you probably don't see in yours, but it should look fairly similar. You've got a bunch of chats running, you got your project files, you have your instructions. Okay. Now on the right side of my screen, you see a section by section content generation prompts for a higher converting tour operator homepage. Nikki's going to resend that link out to you. It should be in the top of your chat. You can click it, access it. I've made it available to all of you so you can get in and see this. We're going to get into it together because we are going to be copying from it. And as I've mentioned before, these are suggested prompts. If you find that you're a little bit different than what I'm suggesting here, I've kind of genericized this a little bit, so it should work with most of you. But if you're finding that there are some nuances to your business, you need to tweak each time you put one of these prompts in, do that. They're not meant to be a perfect one size fits all, but they should be a one size fits most kind of scenario. Okay, so we're going to go into our Moab Adventure Center, or not, you're going to your company name you probably have over here, but I'm going to go into my Moab Adventure Center project here. I've got a couple just because I've been running a couple different things here. So you probably have one of these for your business. Click on that. We're going to come up here into this prompt area, and we're going to set the stage for what we're doing. I want to just note, you'll see a note at the top of this page, that all of what we're about to do is meant to create higher converting content, meaning it is going to resonate more with your ideal customer. Why is that? Because we analyzed the heck out of our ideal customer last week. We used reviews. We had their language pulled back to us. We figured out their hesitations and concerns and wants and desires and aspirations, and all of that is contained in there, and we've uploaded it. So now when we're creating content, we're going to base it on that, and it's going to be much better potentially than the content we have, unless you're just an incredible and phenomenal copywriter already, and you've already done this with all of your copy, which some people have, and that is fantastic. You might just get some ideas out of this if you've already really nailed it on your homepage. You might go, oh my gosh, that's a great little tweak there. One thing I do want to note though, as we go through this, is we are not focused so much on SEO right now. We could do another 5-week series all focused on SEO, but if I layer that on top of this right now, it's too much to take in. So some of you that are familiar with SEO, you have some keyword files, you know exactly what your homepage is focused on from a keyword perspective, and you've done the competitive analysis and all opportunity analysis and all of that for your keywords, then you could weave that in as we go. I would probably be doing some of that but I'm not going to put it in here because I don't want to cause additional confusion. If someone does want to look at, services like that, Resmark Web has, offers that service and can provide, SEO services there's a great video on the site for that if you want to dive into it. But let's go ahead and jump into our homepage content minus the SEO focus. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this first little section here. You don't need to grab the set the stage or the prompt. So everything below the prompt, I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to bring it up here and I'm going to paste it. So what is this prompt doing? This is basically setting the stage for me to enter each one of these prompts. It's providing some context for what I'm about to do, rather than jumping in and saying, give me an awesome headline and some copy that does X, Y, and Z. I'm helping it understand why I'm doing this. And that's an important part of generating the right kind of prompt, give it context. And I'm also doing this in bite-sized chunks. We talked about this a little bit last week. Rather than give it like, here's my entire homepage, top to bottom, I want all these sections. I'm doing them one at a time so it can really be thoughtful and analytical about how it creates that content. If I do it all at once, I'll get some mediocre results and very short. It just won't take the time to go think about it. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So we're going to go ahead and click enter on that. We'll see it's searching my project files, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. And then it's giving me, great, it understands exactly what I'm trying to do. Now, I'm going to do something a little extra here. I did this with and without this prompt. This is not in your document, so you can watch my screen about what I'm about to do here. But I'd like to just double check that it understands the instructions that I've put into this project. And I found that if I make ChatGPT reiterate to me what it's doing, I'll actually get better results that follow. So I'm just going to say, before we get started, can you reiterate the instructions that you've been given for this project? And then I'm going to ask it one other thing after it does this. Now it's using both my project files and it's using the first prompt that I gave it to kind of state this back to me. And we may not always have to do this into the future as all of these tools improve. But I have found that doing something like this will cause the content I'm about to generate to be a little more effective. And it also gives you a chance to look at it and say, you know, like have a conversation. I always like to kind of treat this like I'm working with another person. If it's coming back to me and saying something that I'm like, oh, no, actually, let's not really go in that direction, I'll say that. And I'll say, okay, I won't do that, and I'll do this instead. And that's perfect. I'd have that same conversation with an assistant that I was working with to come up with this content. Okay, and then I'm going to ask it one more question. And if you didn't put the Eugene Schwartz line in your instructions, don't do this. But I did, so I'm going to say, what persona are you emulating? And I'm just going to make sure it remembers. It remembers that we're talking about Eugene Schwartz here. Very good. So it's talking about, it has a deep understanding of customer psychology. It's a master of adventure storytelling. It's conversion driven, excitement and urgency builder, social proof and credibility user. It's a strategic bundler. This again is from our focus on multiple activities. A strategic bundler, that's a good one. How do I adapt to your audience? For adventure seekers, I emphasize thrill, adrenaline, and exclusivity. For families, for sightseers, and relax. So it's got all of my different segments in here. I like it, and it still reminds me that okay, I'm telling you all this stuff, and I still remember what we're doing here. We're creating a homepage. So it's prompted me to go ahead and enter my first prompt. Okay, so we've dug back into our project files a little bit, reiterated what it's doing, make sure it's restated. I like it. I don't feel like I need to tell it to change that tone at all, but if you do, you know, key something in there and say, hey, remember this to do this also, if you're wanting to give it a little bit more input. And then let's go ahead and come down here to the first prompt. So this first section right here is our hero section. And I'm going to bounce back and forth a little bit between our pages so you have a visual of what we're trying to do here. I'm going to just make this a little wider for just a second and pop over here. So this is the type of content that we're generating right now, and it's very specific to be very short. And in this case, we put what I'm calling the header and the subheading. We've reversed that and done a pre-header and the heading up here. So I may find some ideas that I love more than this, but I do like this one quite a bit because we found that people who are visiting our location really want to make the most of their time there. And so making the most of your time in Moab was part of this. They want the best adventures. Those came from the values that were in our value analysis. And so we plugged that in here. So this is the section we're talking about creating right now. Okay, let me squash this back over. We're going to copy. We're going to bring it over here and paste it. Now, in this case, I've asked it, oh, there's a little typo in there. Get rid of that. So in this case, I've asked it for 3 different options. And you could ask it for 10. I mean, if you don't love these, you could actually, go back. One thing that I want to make sure people get with this is that that it's in our destination. Now, if you operate in lots of destinations, you may not do this, but this follow-up prompt could be useful if it didn't give you what you were hoping for here. And I'm going to tell it to provide 3 additional ideas. And the way I like to look at this as we go through this process is these are idea generators, right? It's hard to sit down with a blank slate and just come up with content. So I may look at this and go, oh my gosh, I love Moab's best in one play. I might say that a little bit differently though, and that's great. But now I have these ideas in my head that I can utilize. Your Moab adventure made easy, that might resonate. And so hopefully you're seeing some things on your end that you really like. Moab's ultimate adventure starts here. I mean, some of these are really great. And I can take that and then, pick my favorite one, massage it a little bit. Again, if I were doing SEO with Resmark Web or on your own, we might layer in some other things here just to weave in some key components that we want for SEO. Okay, now let's go down to the next section. The next section is featured tours and experiences. So what we found in terms of creating a homepage that really converts is you want that emotional appeal right out of the gate up top. You got some big imagery or video or something that's just boom and making some immediate impact. They immediately understand they're in the right place. Your heading and your subhead's going to resonate with your ideal customer. And then they're going to wonder what is it that you have to offer. Right? So we're going to get right into this. Now, in some cases, you could do this straight with imagery, and I'll show you a couple different examples of this, but we're going to get some of our featured tours up at the top of the page, and I'm going to plug this in and see what it comes up with. And I'm being very specific in this. You'll notice as we go, I'm saying create concise blurbs, 12 to 15 words each, because I know on my page, I'm not going to be able to do much more than that. And so, I want to be very precise with what I'm asking it based on my design. If your design may look a little bit differently, you could think about that differently. But, okay, I like this. Unforgettable Moab adventures, raft, off-road, and explore. It's given me, several of our different adventure categories here, which I like. Some really short, impactful copy after each one of these. Love that. And it's taken, you can see it's pulling excitement, variety, bucket list experience, ease of booking. It's kind of looking at some of those things that our customers value, pulling that together. It's saying that it's optimized for SEO with strong action-oriented keywords, but I really haven't given it a lot of SEO inputs. So I'm not really going to trust that it's done that correctly. So, all right, I like that. Let me show you on the site what this could look like. Now we're experimenting with something a little bit different here where I could put copy here, but you'll see, we've taken kind of our main categories. We've done this just visually in our case, but having that extra copy, you could use it or not. But again, the concept is big emotional impact, hard-hitting heading, subhead, call to action, which it provided to us, and then we've got our, here's some products, here's some categories that you can jump right into and get to the meat of what we're trying to do right out of the gate. Okay. Next, we have our why choose us. Okay. Now this one has a little something you're going to need to substitute. See where it says company name right there? Paste that guy in and highlight company name and change it to your company name. Okay, again, being very specific about the length that I'm wanting here. Sometimes if you don't specify that, you're going to get a page of content and then you're going to have to figure out what to do with that. So I'm forcing it to be very concise. I'm saying consider the transformation they're looking to experience by using our services and ensure this is clearly stated in the copy. Review the uploaded ideal customer profile and values to incorporate elements that will build an immediate sense of connection to our brand, include bullet points for readability. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So I've got a heading, short little paragraph, and then I should have 6 of these things that resonate with our people. Again, where did it get all of this? It looked at reviews. It looked at all the things people care about to come up with this. So love that it's coming up with that. One-stop adventure hub. We definitely focused on that. Expert local guides, hassle-free planning, adventures for everyone, award-winning service. Love it. And again, if you're thinking, there's something about your customers that is the reason they choose you, state it. Say, looks like we may have missed the fact that people really love us or choose us because, state that. Can we incorporate that into the copy? And you would plug something like that in and it would give you a revised set of results. Okay. I like that. Now, what does this look like in real life? Let's pop over and look at it. I've plugged this section in right here. We kind of did a quick overview of our, a few of our hard-hitting categories, our most popular, and then expanded that a little bit further. And then we plugged this in. So heading, paragraph, 6 items. You can see some of these are similar to what I've got here. I've kind of massaged this back and forth a little bit as I've gone through it. And each time you run it, you're going to get slightly different results. It's not always going to pull back the exact same thing. But, there's my winner for 21 consecutive years. That had that in there already. I chose to state things a little bit differently than maybe it gave me, the variety. I put over 25 adventures instead. So, you can take these things as ideas and just utilize them that way. But so much easier, again, than sitting there looking at a blank slate saying, okay, what are 6 reasons people choose us? Okay. Next section, testimonials and social proof. So love this section because it's one thing to say it yourself, right? It's entirely another to let your guests say it for you. And that's what is beautiful about this. I do think having the concise, 6 bullet points on there is really important, but let's take this and see what it comes up with for reviews. Now, this is very specific, and I'll show you a little example while this is generating. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. And you can do the same on your side. And then I'm just going to show you why this prompt is the way it is. So if I told it to just go out and get reviews, I would end up, some of my reviews are multiple paragraphs for one review, and they are phenomenal reviews. I don't want that. We've found that people can only digest, when they're quickly reading and scanning, about 140 characters in a review as they are jumping from one to the next to the next. And I've got this carousel here that, let me just go into preview mode, that allows them to kind of, bounce through these. And you'll see they look a lot better when they are about the same length, right? I'm not having to, kind of have one expand really tall and then have it shrink back down. That's pretty jarring as you go through something like that, right? So in our case, we want these to all be similar in length. So let's see what it did. What our adventurers are saying, that's an okay. It's overused, I think. I might tell it to, we'll tell it to come up with a few different ideas for the headings. Best decision we made in Moab, seamless booking, epic adventures, and guides that made it unforgettable. So I like these. We're going to try a little follow-up just to see what we get. I'm going to paste this in, just to see if I can remind it. This is a good example of something that, like, if you're like, those are good, and maybe they're just perfect and you don't want to do anything like this, but let's just try taking it a step further. I'm going to ask it, just going to ask it to pull this back into its memory in this chat. Okay, so we'll let it run through this. Is it worth the price? I think in our case, we're kind of a higher end solutions. We're probably the most expensive in town, so that's a good one. I'd like to see a review for that. Safety definitely came up a lot. Here's a side note. If you ever get something, I love to let guests say they felt safe, but in your own copy, be careful about calling anything that you do safe. And if ChatGPT ever, or any AI ever comes back to you with something that says safe or safety in the content, just respond back to it and say, due to, for liability and risk management purposes, we don't want to use the word safe or safety in our copy. Can you come up with something that conveys the same meaning without any guarantee of safety? And it will do it. It'll go back and it will suggest using the words peace of mind, experienced guides, things that still infer that you're going to be safe, but it's not outright saying it. So I like this. I'm going to plug in this prompt number 2 here and just see if I get something different. Can you provide 5 more reviews that best address these hesitations, fears, and concerns? Let's see how it does with this.
Hey, Brandon, while that's going, I have a question from Hallie, if you don't mind me asking. Why
Okay.
do you prefer this format versus something like Trust Index widget?
I like this because, you could use third-party tools to pull some of these things in, and I think there are pros and cons, right? Like sometimes when you have real-time reviews that are coming in, that's actually great. I don't know if people, as they read these reviews, if you can, mark that they're from this source and so forth, and have some different sources on there from TripAdvisor and Google and so forth. And some of these third-party tools do that, but one thing I do like here is that I'm able to take this, like for example, right here, one of the concerns, now I really like this one over maybe what I got before, because one of the concerns was price. In our case, that is a concern. It comes up all the time. Somebody that says worth every penny at the top of the review, I really like that. And it's going to address one of those concerns. Could I get a third-party tool to really understand my hesitations, fears, and concerns of my ideal customer and properly select the reviews that I want to show on that? I don't know. I like to look at these as kind of like, you've got this bank of hesitations and fears that your customers have, and you're just kind of shooting them down with each of these reviews as you plug these in there, just giving them that peace of mind and comfort. So personally, I kind of like this, not to say some of the third-party tools aren't valuable in their own way. So the other thing that I might want to do is take these and say, pull a portion of the review out as a title. Sometimes having that little bold title above the review can be useful. So you could do something like that, just to get it eventually to the point where it's where you need it. But this is a good example of just providing a little bit of feedback, asking it to analyze something and then telling it to create some additional content back on that. And you can see how it changed it. So
another quick thought.
Uh-huh.
If ChatGPT is just thinking, any suggestions on how to get it to move along?
Like it's kind of stalled out on what it's doing. You could, Depending on, I'm in a pro account right here, so I may, it may have a little more bandwidth to it than maybe what you're experiencing in a plus account, or if you're trying to do this in a free account. Um, if it really spins and gets stuck, I would refresh it. I've run into that before. Like just stop it, refresh, and go again. Or sometimes you refresh and there's all your content that it's actually been thinking about. So try that. If you really run into a scenario where you're digging into this, you're given sub prompts and all this stuff for each of these sections, and your conversation thread is getting really long, you may have to go in and start another chat in the project. Remind it that you're continuing the content of your homepage, and you're going to give it some prompts, and then pick up where you left off and just carry on down the list. So okay to do that, but good to take that piece that we had up at the top here and just plug it in one more time to set the stage and say, but instead of saying I'm building, say I'm continuing to build content for the ideal homepage. And then jump back down to where you were and start plugging those in. Hopefully that helps. All right, so let's jump into destination focus. Now, I put this in here for a couple of reasons. Why are we talking about the destination on our homepage? Now, if you have, say you operate in a broad region of the Caribbean, for example, and you operate on several islands, you may have a homepage that focuses on, tours in the Caribbean. You may have sub-destination pages that focus on tours in St. Lucia, Grenada, Antigua, these various places. Or same thing for, the Western US. Maybe I operate in Utah, Idaho, Oregon, California. But where am I generally operating? Kind of in the Western US or the United States or worldwide or whatever it might be. It gives us a chance to kind of think about this from an SEO standpoint as well, as where we would start crafting some of this, where the homepage is maybe hitting that high level destination. If you operate in one location like Moab Adventure Center, this is a chance to just highlight Moab. You have to recognize that when people are shopping for something, they are considering likely lots of destinations. Am I going to go to Moab, Utah, or am I going to go to Jackson Hole or Sun Valley? I've got all these things on my mind, and they're going to leave your site and go to another place. So sell your service, but also sell your destination. Help them see why they want to go there. You may be the only website they visit for your destination. So are you doing a good job at actually saying, this is where you want to come and spend your dollars and your time? So what did I get? Where adventure meets the extraordinary. Nice. Moab isn't just a place, it's a call to adventure. Yeah, I mean, there's some really good content in here, and then why to do it here? There's safely, notice here. So I might want to go in, let's just do it as an example. I'm going to say, as we generate copy for the homepage and other pages, we need to be careful not to use the words safe or safety due to liability and risk management reasons. And then I'm going to say, can you reconstruct this paragraph and infer safety or peace of mind / security in a different way? And in this case, it's just going to recreate that. So I could take some time and probably do that just fine myself, but I'm kind of curious what it's going to come up with. Seamlessly expert guided and stress-free instead of safe. So I like it. I've now taken that out of the mix and just modified my paragraph just a little. So good example of how you can do that. let's try this. I'm curious what it's going to say because I'm going to have to find an image for this to kind of accompany it. I'm just going to say, suggest an image to accompany this copy. And let's see what it's going to give me a few different choices. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of direction on an image. I don't have to think too hard about that, or at least give me some ideas of what I might do. In our case, I would probably, go with something that's iconic like Delicate Arch. It's what most people want to go there to see, and then they're going to do other activities. So that's probably a great idea if I can get some really great image of that. Okay. Then, and taking this a step further, I mean, we won't do it today, but we could potentially use certain platforms to generate imagery for us. Gemini actually does a really phenomenal job at creating photorealistic imagery. We have a retail store and we were selling sarongs. We wanted to picture a woman in a sarong in the Grand Canyon. And it created an image of somebody wearing a sarong in the Grand Canyon, and you couldn't have told it was not a standard image that a photographer took. So being able to come up with some of that kind of stuff when you really need something specific is pretty impressive and getting better all the time. Okay, next section is this lead magnet section. I'll show you an example of this on our page here in a second, but let me just talk about this for a moment. So what we're looking at when we're creating a lead magnet is what we call a secondary call to action generally. Our primary call to action is come to the site, see what we're about, feel some emotion, and book one of our experiences. That's really what we want. But all too often people come and they don't book, right? Like the majority of our visitors don't, or we'd have 100% conversion rate. So they come to the site and I don't want them to leave, right? Leaving anonymously from our site is the worst thing that can happen. I've spent all the time and money to get them there. They looked at stuff and they left. Hopefully our remarketing and other things bring them back. But if I can capture an email address or phone number or something from someone that allows me to follow up, that's a gold mine, right? I'm sitting on something I can actually use. And so that's what this is about, all right? If you don't have one of these on your site, I highly suggest you get one, and this is going to help you get one. So let's copy it, let's paste it, and let's see what it gives us here. And I'll show you one kind of cool follow-up prompt to this. Your Insider's Guide to Mob. Let me show you an example on the live site of what we're talking about. Or not the live site, but this is a site we're building right now with Resmark Web. So if you're looking online for some of this, you don't see it. That's why it's not live yet. So right here, we've got exactly what is suggested. Make the most of Moab with the Ultimate Moab Insider's Guide. And the reason I kind of like this, and this is not even the right copy right here, right now. That's placeholder copy for it. But I like this because it's different than just, hey, here's the ultimate guide to Moab. Our website should really be that. But I like something that's like some secret tips, a locals tips, something that you kind of have to download to get, or provide your email address to get access to it, something like that. Now, one thing you can do if you're not liking what it brought back for you is you can do this. This actually may give you some really fun ideas. So we're going to ask it to go out and just do some quick research. If you have Plus or Pro, you could potentially do deep research on this if you really want to go deep. I don't know if you've used that yet, but it takes a while. We're not going to do it on this call, but you might find it'll really dig into actual sites and pull back examples for you and stuff. So it's giving me some ideas. The Ultimate Moab Travel Guide, a Moab Adventure Quiz. It's a fun idea. You could do something that, you could create a quiz and have people plug in their email, and then they get their results are emailed to them afterwards. Hopefully they subscribe to your, newsletter and marketing emails in the process. Exclusive Moab Adventure deals and early access. Now, we don't do a lot of discounting in our world. But maybe we could think about VIP perks, something we're going to gift them when they show up because they're part of this club. Maybe if you operate, like a lot of the heli skiing operations have kind of their, booking kickoff date, where if you're in the club, you get early access. You know, you can think about things like that. That's kind of cool. 7 epic adventures you can't miss. That sounds more like a blog post to me that I'd want to do. Maybe not gate that behind something you have to give your email. VIP email club. It's kind of fun. You know, it could just literally be your newsletter, but you give it a name like that, and people are like, "Ooh, I'm gonna join that. I want all the inside tips for traveling to Moab." And then you just set that up in a, you know, automated sequence that sends them out several messages, and they join your newsletter, and you continue to provide that kind of stuff. It could be as easy as that. So there's some really good ideas that hopefully you receive there as well. Okay, let's keep moving down the list here. We got a few more to create before our time is up. FAQ section. I'll show you an example of this. This, I want 6 to 8 questions, and I really want it to go in and analyze some of the questions that our people truly have. And if it doesn't, you may need to do a little follow-up. I won't do the follow-up this time on this, but you could consider that. The other thing that you could consider, Eric on the Resmark team brought this up last week, which I think is a wonderful idea. Could you potentially use your chat logs, all of the questions that people have asked your staff and all of the answers that your staff have given? Absolutely. Like, that is a really cool way to generate FAQs, right? And I don't necessarily have to put that in my project files. I could, but if you have that and you want to plug that in with this prompt and say, analyze, you know, these chat logs for the most frequently asked questions and ensure that we've incorporated them here, that's awesome. When we start to get into tour content, which we won't spend a lot of time on today, but just touching on it, you know, you could actually tell it to look for specifically my Colorado River full day trip and the questions that people have asked about that, you know, and then you get really specific on your tour pages. But FAQs are fantastic. If you can code these in a way on your site that they are built in a way that you have schema wrapped around these, then often you can end up in, you know, different location inside of Google, right near the top, where your question is the same question they're asking and you are providing the answer, and they can click on it to go to your site and learn more. So certain ways that you can code this really help with that. Also, I think from an AI perspective, a lot of those AI generated results, people are going to be asking questions in conversational format, right? That is the new way to search. And if you have that type of content on your page, all the more likely that you're going to be the authority in those search results. So that's a couple reasons why I think that's such an important part of nearly every page that you have on the site. Okay, so it gave me a bunch of these. I'm really liking that. We won't do the follow-up here, but again, if you have some of those chat logs and stuff, that would be incredible. All right, I want a brief About Us page. So again, I've already kind of got that section about, you know, why choose us. So I may or may not use this, but I think it's a really good prompt to get some additional content maybe that you can weave into the page, or do create a separate section with this. Okay, excellent. I'm going to do another one here that is suggested experiences with a visual call out. So this section right here is basically, I'll show you on the live page what this is. I want, at this point, I'm down the page a little farther. You remember up at the top, we had the specific tours or specific tour categories, right? And we wanted people to get right into that. Sometimes they're not ready to make a decision. They want to learn a little more about the business. So what do? You scroll, you know, and you start scrolling past that. I'll go a little bit deeper. Okay, I've read the reasons why I should choose this business. I've read now all about this destination. I think I really may want to go here. And now I'm down at the point in the page that I like to remind people what we offer, because so you don't have to scroll all the way back up. So I'm going to do that in a slightly different way here. And that's exactly what this has given me. So now I've scrolled down past all of this and I get unforgettable Moab adventures, thrills, scenery, and once in a lifetime moments. Find your perfect adventure. And then I've got it categorized, everything that we do. into categories, which I got from my product documents and everything, which is wonderful. And I mean, that's awesome. So whether you plug in something that is, tour categories or very specific tours, we're experimenting right here with just some very specific tours closer to the bottom after I've already given them options to jump in at the top. And now I'm like, hey, you can dive into this. We may play with the positioning of this, try the very specific ones with pricing near the top, try the categories near the bottom, and just be testing which one converts more. Okay, and then this one is kind of fun. Take this, so trust and credibility badges. We've said it ourselves, we've let our guests say it, and now we want other third parties to give us kind of their stamp of approval. These are the logos from, third parties like, in our case, we might have we have an affiliation with the National Park Service. That helps us look really official. We have our Traveler's Choice Award, our Best of State Award, all of those kinds of things. Here's one that had popped up that I do not have on our site, and it's a great reminder of, we won a couple years ago, we won the Business of the Year with our local Moab chamber. So that's something that I could go out and grab. Then I might actually ask it here, can you find, I don't want to go grab these things, so can you find me the logos and associated guidelines to represent each of these on our homepage? And I'll let it go out and find that for me, so I don't have to go do the research. And let's see. So it gave me a downloads page for the Best of State. There's an awards page, digital assets hub for TripAdvisor, the usage guidelines for each one of these. The Chamber of Commerce didn't have a good page for that, so I can go out and find that one myself, but now I don't have to go out and search for all of that because it gave me all the links. Okay. So then I may want to, at the bottom of this, I could come in and say, I want to put some additional resources. Now I'm down near the bottom of the page. I want people to jump over and maybe jump into an additional article, read about some things. I'll show you this and we'll pop back to the content. So again, we're in development mode here, but you can kind of see what this might look like near the bottom of the page. And then I'm into my footer down here. So what's it going to give me for some blog posts that it thinks would be good? The Ultimate Moab Adventure Itinerary, 3 days of thrills and scenery, top 7 hidden gems in Moab you can't miss, Hummer versus Jeep, choosing the best off-road tour in Moab. Those are great. And so, if I didn't have those written, next week we'll be talking about how we can do that, how we can generate long-form blog content in the right way and actually craft some of that. The footer, we'll just go through our last two here really quickly. Some things that you might want to consider having on your footer. Again, from an SEO standpoint, if Resmark Web were doing the work on this, there may be some different things that we'd want to consider to get to certain key pages, have those links on every single page. But this helps you think about that. I don't know what point ChatGPT decides it wants to start putting an icon on everything, but I would not put that on my website. So it looks a little cheesy to me, but it's funny. It gets in icon mode, and now all of a sudden you get icons on everything. But yeah, so there's some good stuff there. And then lastly, I'm just going to experiment with this a little bit. Again, I've not given it very much in terms of guidelines from an SEO perspective, but if you had something like this is a great idea generator, again, to come up with an effective title and meta description. Now, the most effective titles are between 150 to 160 characters. So that's what it's created for me here. You can check yours and see if you're within that range. This one should be within that range. If I'm not sure, I can tell it to tell me the character count of the suggested title, and it will do that. And it's giving me an SEO optimized meta description. Again, I'm going to question how SEO optimized it is because I've not given it any inputs for that, but it's just kind of making its best guess. But if you've done nothing of the sort on your site, it could be a better step forward than maybe what you have. So with that, that brings us to the end of the prompts. And so you can see now putting this together on a page, how do you go about implementing this? So you can take your existing page, take some of these ideas. Maybe you have a format that kind of looks like this. You can take these and start weaving some of them in with ideas. Again, with that kind of SEO in mind, because that's super critical on every single page of your site. But you can see kind of in a nutshell where we've ended up with some of this. So we started out with that header. We've got some of those categories. Again, we didn't put a lot of copy behind them. We're letting the images speak for themselves because we have really great imagery here. This is our destination paragraph up here that we talked about. It's time to reconnect and recharge in Moab. It's unlike any place on earth. So again, pulling in some of those things. When you make changes on your site, if you are ranking really well, one thing to just note is you may not want to make a wholesale change. You might want to just weave in a few elements so you don't disrupt what's already going well from an SEO standpoint. Be very careful of that. Then we moved into some great imagery. We put all of our categories down. We have that section with the why choose us. Another image there that's kind of saying, hey, like, this is a legitimate business here. We plugged in those reviews that we pulled over. We also plugged in some of our other third-party reviews and the quantity of those that we have there. I pulled in a couple other things doing this earlier that I really liked from some of the content. Moab guides that feel like family. One of our guests had said that in something. I was like, I could never come up with that. That's great. Love the way they said that. So I used it. And we found a good picture for that. Maps. We didn't talk about that, but maps are a great thing to have on your site if they make sense for where you operate. We have a lot of content on our site that is about other things. So I want to get people to that. We do lodging and camping and food and transportation and a packing guide and all kinds of stuff to kind of give them resources to plan. We want them to come back to our site for everything that they need for their vacation. And then we got the FAQ section that we talked about. We have the tour section with a package to follow that. We have our lead magnet that we talked about, and we have our blogs. And then lastly, we have a final reminder of our tours and the footer. So that's what we're looking at. How do you implement this yourself? Again, you can go into your existing website editor and plug that in. Another option, if you're getting super excited about everything you just generated and you're like, I don't even know what to do to make all this happen, reach out to Resmark Web. They're happy to provide a quote and help you with that, whatever that might look like. This is a super effective thing to do in terms of your marketing. I mean, we spend so many dollars on getting people to our website, and sometimes it gets neglected in terms of what the amount of investment we put into it. And I would say it's probably one of the best places that we can invest in our marketing, because it's really where the conversions happen. And if we can get not only high converting copy like we've talked about today, but we can also get high converting design and layout, because that's the other key piece to this, then you've got something that is going to make your business really, really successful and effective. So, all right, with that, it is the top of the hour. We'll take just a few minutes for questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll just leave my screen up here for a second in case somebody has a question that we want to jump into with something we've done. Nikki, anything from the group that you haven't already answered yet? I can't hear you though, but you might.
That's my bad. Sorry, guys. No questions unanswered. Do we need to save this in TXT format?
Good question. Okay, so what do we do with everything we just generated? You're not really going to go plug this back into the project. So no, you do not need to create a TXT file of this. You can let it live in your chat. This is not going to disappear over here. So you can have it be over here and you can always reference it. Or you can copy the pieces that you most love out of it and put it into a document. And store that on the side. If you choose to work with Resmark Web to build all of this out, that's an awesome start to content. And then our team can layer on the SEO on top of that. If you choose to work with an existing web designer or something, you can hand this to them and say, hey, I've been to this workshop and generated a ton of content. Can we weave some of this into the website? Or if you do it yourself, then you know what you're doing. So yeah, that's a good one, Nikki. Anything else that anybody wants to ask before we jump into what we'll be talking about next time? Okay.
One more.
Let me.
One
Oh,
more.
yep.
Oh, never mind. Sorry. False alarm.
Okay, you've done a great job of getting everything answered as we've been going along. So that's great. So next session, what are we talking about? We will be talking about AI generated blog and your content strategy for SEO success. So we talked today a little bit about the website copywriting. Next time, I know we didn't get to it this time, but next time I will show just a little bit of how this incorporates into your tour page, your tour category pages. Those are also really critical pages on your website. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well, just show you some examples, and then we'll get into blog content, which is going to be really fun. So the other piece that you could consider if you came up with a lead magnet today that you're really excited about, you could experiment as homework. You could go and actually take that and see if you can craft, using your own prompts, some content for that lead magnet, whether that's an insider's guide or you're going to create a series of emails that are for the VIP club. That's going to get a bunch of travel tips to your destination. You could start thinking about that, and then maybe if you have questions about that, bring those back next week, and I'm happy to go through some of those with you and see what you've run into, any challenges you've had as you've been working on this on your own. Okay, and that's it, everybody. So thanks again for joining us today. If you want to go out and see any of those services that are provided on the Resmark website, you can access that here, resmarkweb.com, and you can run through all of the various services that are offered there. We're happy to help in any way that we can to help you progress along this journey.
Yes, Liam, you can get the replay. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll see you next week.